our approach is not only about Europe, but the values we are working about are universal values. So for us, it's really important to collect different reflection and opinions about them, and to work about the European community is also an opportunity we find connected to Erasmus project, but we would like to go out of from the barriers of the European country and to think about universal values.
I think we can get started. The session is recorded anyway, so even for the latecomers, they will have an opportunity to make up for their loss. So I think, Javier, I can pass you the baton, and happy to have you opening today's session with the first session of the day.
Okay, Elia. Thank you. Can you see the screen, right? The presentation?
Yes, we can.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Javier Carrasco, and I'm a professor at the UC Chile School of Design. It is an honor for me to be here with you today and to share this presentation titled Displacement in the Printing Industry in Chile, Document Through Pocket Calendars. And by the curb, a woman smiles at me humbly, offering me with her black market street charm, "Wouldn't you like to buy a Band-Aid, sir?" I want to begin this session with a quote from the Chilean writer and chronicler Pedro Lemebel to describe in words a situation that, despite its specific details, likely plays out all over the world: informal trade and precariousness. The following visual study derives from the article Deaf Graphics, Printed and Handmade Visual Expressions by People in Vulnerable Situation in Public Spaces in the City of Santiago, co-authored with Pedro Álvarez Caselli, which documents graphic works created by deaf people in the Chilean capital.
Sorry, Javier, I think you are changing the slides, but we're still stuck on the first. So I don't know if you are going to...
I am changing.
Okay, so we can still see just the first slide. We are on the cover.
The first?
Yep.
Excuse me. My bad.
No problem at all.
Now?
Still the first, only the first.
Here, right? Excuse me. I don't know what's going on. What's wrong?
Sometimes Acrobat does this, so you might want to try and open the PDF. I don't know, are you using Google Chrome?
Yes.
Okay, so you can open the PDF directly on... now we can see the slides. Okay, now it's working.
Maybe it's the problem is when I put the in full screen, right?
Yeah, yeah, that might be it. Yes.
There's a problem with if we visualize the presentation in this way.
I don't think so. I mean, it's readable, so go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, that was the quote. Okay. The following, I restart this slide. The following visual study derives from the article Deaf Graphics, Printed and Handmade Visual Expressions by People in Vulnerable Situations in Public Spaces in the City of Santiago, co-authored with Pedro Álvarez Caselli, which documents graphic works created by deaf people in the Chilean capital. That study focuses on those that explicitly refer to deafness, whether through text or by incorporating visual elements from sign language. This initial approach excludes materials that are also part of this graphic ecosystem, but do not mention a condition of deafness. In the examples, on the left is an image with text that begins, "Hello, I am deaf," in parentheses, "we are unemployed." On the right is an image of Jesus with the sign language alphabet display around it. On the screen, you can see a diagram of these deaf graphics, which divides them into two main groups, printed and handmade. The trajectory examined in this study is highlighted in bold. At the bottom are the handmade ones, which include signs and pamphlets. These represent an extreme survival strategy. At the top are those that require the involvement of someone from the printing industry. The sophistication or number of people involved in the process can range from 1 to 3 or even 5 people, depending on the level of difficulty, including the person who reviews the file on a screen, the computer to plate or CDP plate maker, the printer, and the person operating the guillotine. Here I put some visual examples of each point in the diagram. We can look at some handmade cardboard signs, notebook pages with written messages, as well as workspaces at small local print shops, brochures, Band-Aid wrappers, word search books, and more. The collection drawing on a corpus of over 200 pocket calendars from all over the country and published through more than 90 years, this study offers a preliminary analysis of these objects and their impact on material graphic culture. In this initial approach, the calendars will be examined, ranging from contemporary designs to the oldest surviving examples. The image shows a map of Chile. Of course, I agreed a map of South America, showing the origins of the calendar included in this study. In this visualization, you can see which years are represented in the collection with at least one calendar. The oldest one dates to 1933, while the most recent one is from this year. Personally, I also use it as a guide to help me decide which calendars to buy or acquire. The current state of pocket calendars. They are currently used as a transaction object, part of a strategy of informal, nomadic, and urgent economic activity carried out by a group of people marginalized by society. These calendars can be found on public transportation and in other public spaces, either through chance encounters with people distributing them or by visiting distributors, print shops, and flea markets, such as open-air markets street markets, and other second-hand shops. According to the book Sobrevivir en la calle, or Surviving on the Street, which details the reality of street vendors in Chile, pocket calendars meet all the basic requirements for street sales: size, weight, portability, low cost, and simplicity. Here is a visualization from the front and the back of a regular pocket calendar. In the front, usually has an image, an illustration, a photography, a digital collage, or a typography. In the back, 1/3 of the back is empty space, and then 2/3 of the space you occupy the calendar itself. It is usually printed in 2 colors, one for regular days, black or blue, and red for holidays. That's the structure of a current pocket calendar. This slide shows front side of pocket calendars currently found in public spaces. Notable features include the use of romantic motifs, popular children's characters, and more recently, characters designed using generative artificial intelligence. All 3 are accompanied by a quote or a biblical passage. The one in the middle, featuring Minnie Mouse, includes the following quote: "Love me when I least deserve it, because that's when I'll need it most." Backside of the calendars shown on the previous page are displayed in this slide. Although their designs are not identical, all 3 share a common visual structure using the same graphic elements and a layout as the one described previously. Art and pocket calendars. Here I put 3 calendars from different years that are part of the work Ofrezco Cita, Mi intención no es molestarle, by Chilean poet and printer Pablo Suazo. The English translation of this work's title would be something like, "I offer this quote, I don't mean to bother you." The latter phrase is commonly used by street vendors to start a sales pitch on public transportation. What makes this work interesting is the decontextualization of children's character from popular culture, which are juxtaposed with quotes from figures in philosophy, politics, and music, among other fields, mimicking the motivational or romantic phrases found in pocket calendars. In example, the Garfield one says, "No hay precio demasiado alto por el privilegio de ser uno mismo." And FN is Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, so then we got the back of the calendars created by Pablo Suazo and his project Editorial Plo, which follow the formal structure of the originals found on the streets. Here we can see how a small alteration becomes an act of art. Since 2016, the artist has chosen to remove September 11 from the calendar. That is the day Augusto Pinochet's dictatorship began. The next category is calendars used from propaganda. Examples of pocket calendars used as promotional items in political campaigns and social protests. This slide shows 3 examples related to politics. However, examples of commercial product advertising could also be included. Both the image on the left and the one in the middle were used by political figures, while the one on the right features a dog named Negro Matapacos, or Black Cop Killer. This is a close translation to the name, Negro Matapacos, who became famous in Chile for participating in street protests alongside university students in the run-up to the so-called social outburst of 2019 in Chile, where he was used as a symbol of struggle and resistance. In the back, we can see Lavin's calendar. The one in the left includes the last 3 months of 1999 as a strategy to highlight the election period, omitting the last 3 months of 2000, the years 2000. The 2020 calendar features Mapuche imagery. Nudity and local advertising. Nude women were a common theme in calendars from the 1980s. They were widely used by neighborhood stores and small local business. The reverse side of the previous sheet shows the types of organizations that used these calendars. One of the most significant findings of this research is shown here. Unlikely today, in the 1980s, printing companies used to sign their calendars. This discovery opens up a new line of research. I will return to this idea in a few slides. Next category is typography. Before offset printing became widespread, pocket calendars produced using letterpress printing were more common. In his book, Historia de la Imprenta en Chile, or History of Printing in Chile, Jorge Soto Veragua notes that according to statistics from the time, in the first half of the 20th century, most of the printing presses in operation were found in small letterpress workshops. The oldest item in the archive, dating from 1933, is a business card calendar belonging to Servando González, a merchant and owner of the Librería Universo Universo bookstore, and the Andrés Bello printing press. Illustrated advertisement by the Imprenta and Litografía Universo, taken from the book Historia de la Imprenta en Chile by Jorge Soto Veragua. Although they appear to be from the same business, the two images appear to be from the same business, the truth is that the pocket calendar uses as a name similar, almost identical to that of the advertisement, which at the time was the most important printing house in the country. The discussion, according to the book Tempus Fugit, for printing companies around the world, calendars have always been a standard annual gift for their customers. This sheds light on the origins of the pocket calendar, which is likely linked to the development of the printing industry. This is a postcard from the first decade of the 20th century, published by Carlos Brandt. In addition, the format blends elements drawn from the world of photography. This is here in the image true cartes de visite and later cabinet-sized photographs, which during the latter part of the 19th century became established as a social marker of recognition and prestige, much like social media does today, but in an analog form. I'd like to return to this image just to share the latest findings. The number of printing establishments identified so far exceeds 15. This has led to the development of parallel collections, such as greeting cards and postcards. These items provide further evidence of those printing establishments, their graphic identifiers, like logos, pictograms, and many others. And here are a couple of examples of the last idea. Where we got two logos or graphic identifiers to those printing or press houses. So conclusions: pocket calendars serve as evidence to document, complete, or at least supplement the history of the local printing industry, distinct from the big typographic and lithographic printing houses. It is necessary to identify and acknowledge those places that remain in operation in order to gather new information about the past and those established lines of succession in the transfer of technical knowledge, expertise, and other connections that allow for a broader view of the industry. In particular, we need to know who the people were who built and sustained the industry. If you don't know how to smile, you don't know how to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Javier. We can take questions now or comments.
Thank you, Javier. I'm thinking about these little artifacts. It apparently is far from our topic, but I think that could be a suggestion for our project, because at the beginning, we have thinking about the possibility not only to work in a two-dimensional, like something printed, but I try to explain in a better way. We think about our alphabet, our values alphabet, not only two-dimensional, but also three-dimensional. And when we have speaking with Maria Milano, who is a teacher from Porto, and she's an expertise about with many competition about the exhibition design. We have thinking that the future of this project we are working, it could be the possibility that, to disseminate it, and also these little artifacts like a pocket calendar could be a good idea to remember not one day, but all the days of in a year, how are important these universal values. And I remember also in Italy, they were very famous with different subjects, like you have shown before, with the nudity or quote or other things. Now they are very rarely to see in Italy, but I think that like other apparently little thing could have a very big power. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your comment, for your reflections. I'm taking note. Maria Milano.
I mean, building on Cinzia's point, I think there is although they're very far from what we are discussing in terms of abstract values, etc., there is a clear link for me, which is what I found most interesting was this sort of dual coding that is always present especially in the front of the calendar, and the fact that this dual coding between words and images is always almost like absurd. Like you always have these super serious citations and quotes juxtaposed to either funny or absurd images. So I think that idea of dual coding, serious messages with a lot more kind of approachable visuals, could be a sort of methodological aspects that we could, for example, adopt for the translation of the European values. And I found this super funny, but at the same time super interesting. Like there is always this juxtaposition of, I don't know, biblical citations next to Minnie Mouse. Like that's super funny for me and quite absurd. But I think it works for that reason. Like it is eye-catching, but at the same time you're transmitting a very serious message there, which could be a super strong methodological aspect to adopt.
Thank you, Elia. I have a question for you, Elia, Cynthia, and it is to know is there something like that in Europe, or not, maybe not nowadays, but in the past?
Sure, in
There
the
is.
past, yes. And we can make a little research for you, and so to send you some example in Italy. I remember my grandfather, and how the barber shop barber.
Yeah.
In the barber, it realized with branding pocket calendar and to share them with their clients. But I'm sure that there isn't this tradition now. But you can find something for you.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can confirm that. So I don't live in the city. I live in the suburbs, which is usually like 10 to 15 years behind the city. And I can still remember it when I was young. You know, my barber every year for Christmas used to give away a comb and a pocket calendar, exactly like that. So it was very common, especially at Christmas time, for shop owners to give away these sort of things.
But I always something for men, so with a sex topic, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you, Cinzia. Thank you so much, Javier, for the presentation. I would like to comment that these visual little devices are also cultural carriers that can bring us some different approaches. I'm thinking in migrant cultures or street cultures that are sometimes good points to observe for the students. How are the local cultures affecting? How are the visual dirty elements from the street affecting our languages? I think it's a great approach also to open the box of the topics that we are touching now here in the Beacon workshop. Uh, we can reflect also our local cultural values. So I appreciate, Javier, your acute observation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo. The last year, I have found some evidence or calendars or graphic or deaf graphics, like I said in the at the first part of the presentation, and includes the immigrant topic in Chile. So it's very interesting that wasn't common until 15 years ago, and now there's a tendency to that group of marginalized people expresses by media these little artifacts, like say Ciencia. I have a example of naked woman and this is a barber shop, Chilean barber shop from 1985. Yes. So we have things in common, I think, in this topic.
Does anyone else want to share questions or comments? Okay, in that case, I will thank you, Javier, for your super interesting presentation. And we can move on to the second session of the day, which is going to be delivered by Alejandra Menaba, who will talk about the visual metaphor in the Ibero-American poster. Over to you, Alejandra.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Javier, for your presentation. I'm going to share the screen. Grazie mille alla Universidad de Palermo por questo invito. The the main subject of this presentation is the visual metaphor. I'm going to place the Ibero-American poster to share with you what we do, but I think that visual metaphor can engage with the beacon exercise that we have been doing, because when we make a sign of peace, a peace sign, and we use a pigeon, what we are doing is a metaphor. So I'm going to express what I think that we can learn about it. Okay, so I start doing what we did on Monday, start searching for what is the definition, the etymologically conception of metaphor. Of course, it's a Greek word, and you can divide it in two. There is the prefix meta, that is beyond on the other side, and the suffix phora, that it means to carry, to transport, and etymologically it means to carry the meaning from one place to another. And the definition of the word is that is a word or phrase for one thing that is used to refer to another thing in order to show or suggest that they are similar. Okay? But if we move to the visual metaphor, it has another definition. And here I use these scenes, this tea party of Alice in Wonderland, that take elements, take pieces of reality and juxtapose them to challenge our strict logic. We can recognize the Mad Hatter, the rabbit, but there are things that are oniric, fictional, and that is what makes Alice interesting. So the definition of visual metaphor is the representation of a person, place, thing, or idea through a visual image that suggests a particular association or point of similarity. But a question that we can make to us is why visual metaphors matter in communication. Well, the first argument is that they activate multiple layers of meanings, so they have depth. They make us, they force us to make interpretations. They are complex. Second, a metaphor engages the both sides of the brain, the logic and the emotion, speaks to the rational mind and force us to understand what we are seeing, and the artist side of the brain, the visual imagination, and connect with what we feel, the emotions that we have. Number three, they make abstract concepts tangible. That is something that we spoke on Monday. Concepts like innovation or collaboration or equality or belonging can sound vague until we see them expressed as, I don't know, bridges, crossroads, or intertwined threads. And number four, metaphors are memorable. Because images that combine two ideas, especially in disruptive ways, stick in our minds because they surprise us and make us think. So, when we are in front of a graphic that use a visual metaphor, we have to stop, we have to observe, and we have to interpret. A visual metaphor is not something that happens quickly. It demands time and to stop in a word that is always rush us. As, I don't know, poetry do, because the language of poetry is metaphor. It's like to draw a curtain and see new facets of reality, discover new universe, and take a look of what is beyond. Something important for me is that a good metaphor isn't just a puzzle. It isn't just this talent that you have to figure out. It's also a way to make us feel and know something in a different way. So, how can we make visual metaphors? This is a kind of a tricky question because I bet that the majority of us went to a traditional school, and we came from a educational system that encouraged us to answer in the good way what we should say, and this kind of cognition of way of thinking constrain us in this metaphor thinking. So in a way we have to learn to unlearn and move from what we should say or should answer to what we could answer. For example, does a pig needs to be pink, or does a hand needs to have 5 fingers, are a question that in visual metaphor are open. So we need to move from what is correct to the incorrect, or we need to move from a rigid ambit to a flexible one, to search the quality of idea, to search the quantity of idea. The more ideas we came to, the better. From a rational mind for an intuitive one, from digital to sensorial. In conclusion, for an ambit that is convergent to a divergent one. In conclusion, what I'm trying to tell you is that we need to provoke. This word has sort of a bad connotation here in my country, but what I'm trying to say is that we need to encourage and promote something in the people. So now I'm going to show you some posters that use visual metaphors that came from Iberoamerica. And I'm going to start with Joan Brossa. He was from Spain, from the south of Spain, from Catalonia. And this poster, it calls Visual Poem. And in this one, Brossa used this key with the alphabet, with the 26th letter of the alphabet, and he tried to tell us that with the language, with the communication, we can open new worlds. This for me is very elegant. It's very simple. He make with an everyday object like a leather, like a scale, music with the music notation. And this one it calls country. And he juxtaposed these two elements, no, the soccer ball and the camp. And he doesn't just add them. It's not just AB is not A plus B is not equal to AB. It's something new. It's something that challenged us. And with this coronation, he is synthesizing what Spain is about. Now I'm going to show you the work of Alejandro Magallanes. He's from Mexico, and he works a lot with humor. It's something that is common, I think, in the Ibero-American poster. This one it calls Behind the American Fantasy. It doesn't need a explanation, I think, but it tells us that behind those happy faces, there are always something dark, I mean, or something that we are not seeing, not necessarily dark. This one, I like it very much. Alejandro works a lot with art craft, Mexican art crafts, and he works with what is badly done in Latin America. He laughs and he says that he used this Swiss letter kind of lettering, and he used it like in a very expressive way. I think that it's gelling about Latin American, this one. This one is very beautiful. This poster is for an event that is called the water as aesthetic element. And we can think like how our bodies are made of water, or how this body is half empty or half full. And again, this kind of illustration that is like a badly done illustration. And Alice, again, that is a nightclub there in Mexico, and every year Alejandro does a new poster for the anniversary of this place. From Chile, I'm going to show Nicanor Parra. Nicanor Parra was a physician, and he used to work with a designer that is called Juan Guillermo Tejeda. And they made a series, or what they call artifacts. And for example, this one has the Einstein formula from energy, and it's called The Last Stone. And it has also this quotation, like Elia said, this juxtaposed of elements, this quotation, this Christ quotation, that is saying, who dares to throw it? This one it calls democracy and dictatorship. As you should know, many countries in Latin America had these dictatorships in the past in the past years, in the past century. So Nicanor is thinking about this dispute. This one, I think, also is very elegant. It calls Message in a Bottle, with a Coca-Cola bottle on it. Well, final thoughts of visual metaphors. I think that they teach us to think differently, and they push us to see differently. And creating visual metaphor is not about drawing beautifully, it's about thinking differently. And it's a discipline, I think, that combines curiosity, observation, and imaginations. When we start seeing the world metaphorically, even the most ordinary objects becomes a potential story. And I finish with this quote that our world a state of William Shakespeare. And thank you all, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alejandra. I see many clapping hands, so I'm sure we're all sharing the same feeling. So we can open up for questions and comments in case there are any.
I would like to break ice. I'm a big fan of metaphor and all of rhetoric figures, because I think that something that I say every time to my students is, please don't think in a didascalic way. And the graphic translation is not to translate something abstract, invisible, or anything else in the first thing you are thinking. But it's really important to think in and to change our way to translate something using metaphor that are used in every kind of not only our disciplines, but also in the art, in the narrative, poetry, and during the when you are showing the different poster, I'm thinking in Alejandro Ross, that is a graphic design from Argentina that use, and also Isidro Ferrer from Spain. And it's the incredible is how smart is it's not only using an expressive way, but is like an opening a door in a different world, and give people the power to the interpretation of something that is different from carry one word or one concept from a part to another, from one point to another. Excuse me for my English. And I'm sure that the metaphor, we need the metaphor to work with our alphabet, because I'm sure that we cannot follow the literal translation we can see about pictograms for European values, no? The justice with the balance si dice bilancia, or yes, or balance, or other things like this. So if we can imagine an alphabet using the metaphor, I'm sure that we can open not one but many doors. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your words, Cynthia. I think that visual metaphor make put our interlocutors in a main character. We don't have to subestimate the other side of the work we do.
Yes, I'm sure. Thank you.
We have a couple of messages in the chat box. Katarzyna is asking if you could share the last poster here in the chat box. I think the
Message in the bubble one from Nicanor Parra from Chile. Very good. Yes, I can share it, but give me a moment because I'm not very ducha diestra with the with the digital interface.
I wanted to comment on the value of lateral thinking, metaphorical thinking. I think it's also almost a responsibility for design to go back to it, because originally that's what characterizes design thinking from any other type of thinking. This ability to build non-obvious connections. And over the last few years, design has become more and more synonym for increasing the affordance of interfaces, increasing the affordance of products, removing friction. But I think in the long run, removing friction kind of makes our brain lazy. I think design should do exactly the opposite, increasing friction so that interaction can become more intentional, especially when it comes to communicating a message, like important messages like abstract messages or political messages or anything like that. So I think it's a very valuable tool that unfortunately, even in the academic world, we're more and more abandoning. And because we're teaching people that a good interface is an interface where people don't have to think about how to use it. They just have to go and naturally use it, because no friction equal good interface or good experience. But some friction actually keep your critical mind on, and I think it's a good tool to share with the world, and hopefully something we can embrace as we approach this new design phase for the program.
Elia, I communicate with all you are saying. For me, it's a problem, this topic about the desmaterialization of design. And I'm so into friction. I mean, the material world is something I share with Javier. I mean, and rescuing these calendars is part of our a material culture that is vanishing. I mean, when you go to a trip or you travel, I mean, you used to have a diary and paste, I don't know, the tickets of the concerts and all that is disappearing, and what we have left, I mean, those collections that are part of what we remember, our history, the story we share are vanishing. So I connect very much with what you are saying.
I appreciate that.
Well, I think we can move, and I'm going to share the message in a bottle piece.
Thank you very much, Alejandra.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation, and Rodrigo. Or no, or maybe a break, I don't know.
In the chat, I put the title of a book I think to use during our activity in presence in Palermo during the workshop. And it's the title is Cicero, that is the unit that are used by typography. And inside is a book all dedicated, illustrated guide to the rhetoric figures. And there is also metaphor and many other. So I'm sure that it could be also interesting for you, Alejandra.
Thank you, Cinzia. Now we will move on to the last theoretical session of the day. So, Rodrigo, the floor is yours. Rodrigo will present a session titled Visual Tools for Activating Emergencies. So, over to you.
Rodrigo, excuse me, can I say something that I'm sorry because the situation is something like not formal, but I would like to say something that I have to say at the beginning of this day. Excuse me very much. Rodrigo and Alejandra and Javier, they are from Pontificia Universidad Católica del Chile. We have known, I knew Rodrigo some years ago, thanks to a network, an international network about the topic of emergency design. And we invited Rodrigo Ramirez for 2 years in Palermo with an economic financial help from our university. And now we are like a family also, if we are so far, geographically so far. And I'm really happy that you are here, and thank you very much to all of you, because I understand it is difficult for the distance, geographical distance, and also for the time. But for and not only for me, but for all of us, it's an honor. And we are very proud to have you with us in our special bot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cinzia, for your words, and welcome everybody to this set of presentations. I'm feeling very happy to share our research work on design. And of course, as I said before, congratulations to Javier and Alejandra for their very interesting presentations. So it's a pity for me now because the Palermitan people probably know the material that I will show. In fact, there are some of you that are in the images that I'm presenting now. Give me one second to share the screen. Here it is. Okay, this is the presentation about icons as visual tools for activating emergencies. So I'm talking now about icons. Of course, I have included some work tips for the students that are attending to these workshops. You probably will consider, will work or are currently working on the icon design. So I consider that probably it is a good moment to share with you some of the tricks of the trade about doing pictograms. As Cinzia mentioned just now, I'm coming together with Alejandra and Javier from this building physically. This is our design school in Campus Lo Contador in Santiago, Chile. I am an information designer here, an associate professor at the UC Chile School of Design. I lead this design project called Gemil Icons for Emergencies. Today I'm talking about Gemil. And I work also as an interdisciplinary researcher in the Center of Risk, Resilience and Recovery from Disaster that is called CIGIDEN. The CIGIDEN has been a revolutionary research center because from interdisciplinarity mixes scientific approaches, of course, but also these more humanistic social concerns about disasters. So it's very interesting the work that we are doing now in this center. And as Cinzia started to mention, I am a board member of this network, international network of design for emergency management. So you can see here the different websites. One is the DINEM, this network that Cinzia is part also. Design for Emergency is another project that probably I'm showing you now. And we have also this catalog, this little library of projects done in Design for Emergency from the School of Design. So the 4rs.info is our site supported by CIGIDEN. Let me begin to speak today about the emergency experience as a human experience. Probably you know that emergency is a disruptive situation, but related to the human experience is a complex experience. For everyone involved, not just the people that are inside the building when earthquake strikes or in a fire, for example, becomes a complex experience for everyone involved. First responders, firefighters, the people on the government, probably everyone will stop from their normal life and start to concern about what will happen, what will be the worst scenario, for example. And this is a problem of design also. This is a design very wicked problem that it becomes interesting as a way to approach from projects. Specifically, from information design, it is a moment when you have very little information about what is happening. Maybe you have a limited access to information because networks are gone, or maybe you don't have energy to, or maybe you are in real trouble, isolated in a flood, for example. So it becomes, from an optimistical point of view, it becomes a real real fantastic problem to approach from design. Some of the images that I am showing you today are part of the work of students from the design school that are working with me in some projects. For example, here, Antonia Munoz, a student years ago, developed this series of images as a little animations in order to illustrate what will happen in a moment when a fire here, a forest or wildfire or bushfire strikes, and you don't have any information. So conceptually, you have this continuum. probably now, currently, we are in a moment before an event. We can plan this call, this video meeting. People in Poland, in Italy, in Chile, in Argentina are attending to this meeting. And this is something that we have planned, and plans are going as we considered. But if something happened, everything changes, and you have this moment of the event. So you can identify in the lower part of this diagram some of the needs that people will have in every moment of this risk cycle. So before is the ideal moment for prevention and preparedness, so you can identify the risks, learn about the hazards, understand the procedures, etc. So when the moment strikes, when the event starts, is probably the worst moment to learn something new. So you need to design for decisions, you need to design for articulate the protocols, the procedures you already knew. And the uncertain moment of recovery is always a moment that you don't know what will happen. It depends on the scale of the event. It depends on the probably the losses you have in your house, in your family, in your city, in your society. And for example, the most extreme example that emergency managers exemplifies this is the case of Haiti, for example, this country in Central America, an island that an earthquake destroyed everything, including the state. So after the 2010 earthquake, Haiti became a failed state. So there were nothing, for example, a municipality or a parliament, a ministry to approach in order to get some aid or some help. So this is an extreme case of when an emergency goes really bad. In the field of visuals, we have many examples, and I have selected just three examples just to show you. Some of them are really famous, like the Running Man in the left part, designed by Yukio Ota. I had the luck to know Yukio Ota in Tokyo some years ago, and was a fascinating man, very concerned about this idea of how you can represent in a tiny, in minimal elements like pictograms, some actions like, for example, evacuating a building or finding your safe spot in a case of a tsunami evacuation. So this today is very well known because it became an ISO international norm, and you can see probably in every building that is built in a city or in a public building. The second project is Hablamos Juntos. It is a US-based project with a Spanish name because it is oriented, it's a set of pictograms designed specifically for migrant communities that come or probably in the past came into the US from South America, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, etc. To live the American dream. So not speaking English or not understanding this health very complex model in the US, they knew this visual aid for assisting, for helping people in order to get health attention. And the third example is the first aid kit, a brilliant example of how you can use some principles, for example, from isotype or from other traditional historical projects in order to, again, assist, in this case, again, migrant communities in the context of Europe. This was like a community-based project also because it started from this design studio called Buru Bauer, and then the communities adopted, and it is really simple. It's an A4 sheet of paper that you can print in your laser print, and then you can deploy in a building, for example, in a shelter or something that will receive migrant communities. In my case, in my personal case, I'm presenting this project. This is Gamel Icons for Emergencies. This is a project that I started 10 years ago. We are now, we are getting 10 years old with this fascinating project. In the current version, the version 2, is getting 115 symbols, and it is an open source initiative. So if you need for your projects or need to collaborate, want to collaborate in this project, we are always open to collaborate. This is one of the reasons Cinzia mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, that we met in 2024 and we start to work in these projects related with pictograms. Now, at the end of the past year, we published this new version that includes new symbols, but also it is exploring refinements. So it is a project that is not and static. It's not like a project that was done in the past. Is progressing. It is evolutionizing or evolutioning according with new demands, with new emergency scenarios, etc. And one of the most important things that impulse us as a project to refine, to rethink the symbols are the testings. We discovered very early in the project that the local situation, the geography, the cultural approaches to emergencies changes the interpretations. Every one of you probably will understand in a different way some of these representations. So we understood that was really important to incorporate these contextual variables in order to get a permanent testing. So Gamil project is in one half is the design of the icons, and the other half is the design of the testing research. So it is a good mix of a creative project, but also more scientific, in quotes, of course, scientific project, because it always is testing these representations in order to get the interpretations from the public. So we measure these interpretations and we follow this kind of simple method. When we have the representation on the left, we get responses, at least 200 per icon. So you can see here this word cloud with the different interpretations of that specific icon. Fire, incendio, run away from fire, etc. And then we categorize these responses into 6 different grades scale. So the responses can be considered correct, almost correct, ambiguous, incorrect, opposite, or you can have a non-response, someone that don't know what this means. So the indicator, the number, the quantitative value at the end is the calculation of this categorization. So following some international practices like ANSI in the US or ISO in a global scope, every emergency symbol, every emergency icon must to have at least 83% of correct or almost correct responses. So in this case, you can see that this specific representation, run away from fire, reach 89% in a test. So it's a very well evaluated icon. Sorry. So we get some design based on evidence, and this help us to improve the visual representation. So in the different versions, we could add very evidence-based, very well evidence-based improvements. sometimes it's not just a matter of the number, the reaching the 83%. It's more like having good comments or interesting comments. I have many stories to tell you when you want about, for example, very weird interpretations that people can make from icons that are not related with their geography, with their cultural approach or everyday life. So it became, as I said, a global scope project. So far, we have responses or participation on this project from many different countries in 11 test rounds. Now we are conducting the test number 9, and we have had this opportunity to evaluate 160 something symbols. So here there is a QR. If you have your phone, I can repeat later or share via the chat at the end of this presentation. We are running a new test, and of course we are taking the opportunity in this Beacon BIP program to share with you this opportunity to collaborate. So in this case, we are sure that we are activating emergencies. I like too much to work with the students in different parts of the world. As I mentioned, Cinzia, Elia, Francesca, and all the team. I have included some images from our work in two instances in 2024 and 2025. I feel very fortunate to have this chance to come with my icons with this pictogram approach and work with different teams in different countries. And of course, this is a very good source of inspiration in order to develop approaches, for example, like informal approaches, like WhatsApp stickers. For example, some students became, oh, what happened if we use WhatsApp as a technological device to manage emergencies? Go ahead, and let's see what is happening. And at the right here in this screen, I am showing one piece that I like so much is the activator. Information activators are tiny little stories that you can tell using the icons, and I love this expression. Icons doing things, not just a representation on the wall or on the door. Is let's make two icons do things, represent actions, and people can follow and feel safe or better according to that. So finishing my presentation, I would like to share with the students in this workshop 4 fundamental basic principles that I consider that are the most important things to work with pictograms. Of course, as a university teacher in a school of design, I work every day with forms, with shapes, with vectorial language in the computer, but I have identified these 4 principles as the most fundamental elements as you are working with a marker and paper, or if you are working with artificial intelligence, probably you will need to consider these 4 principles. One is line and surface. Good pictograms are always a good harmony of line and surface. The shapes are constructing using lines with the value, with the thickness that you need to consider. What is this value? What is the relationship between the spot, the plaque or the ink, and the value of this line? And of course, the surface. You need to define a contour that can be identified. In this case, a human head with a hat or with a helmet that you can interchange the values of lines and surface. Then the second principle is the synthesis. The forms are constructing, taking just the essential components, reducing details and increasing visual eloquence. Sometimes you might consider that the pictograms are just this principle, reducing to the essential, but it needs something else, something more. Synthesis or reduction is important, but it's not the only principle. Form and counterform. This is another good example. I have a colleague here that always talk about the yin and yang principle, and it's a very good metaphor related with Alejandra's presentation about how the white and black here are affecting each other. Both filled and empty spaces are need to be considered in the design, considering this positive space, but also the negative form. In this case, this is a brilliant example from Nigel Holmes for I think it was like a commercial catalog. And the last principle, but no less important, is consistency, the visual consistency of the elements. So you are always constructing, building a family, a system, and decisions need to be systematized to generate a visual coherence, a connection between the parts, and an idea of a system. So consider this principle as a sum of the three previous principles. The visual consistency is probably the clue you have when something is not closing, when there is something that you are considering, oh, this is not good yet, probably this is a problem of visual consistency. So look at the thickness of the lines, look at the finishing, the endings of each stroke. Probably you will find the problem in this kind of elements, and consistency, visual consistency, is a very good clue for making your own pictograms. So before finishing this presentation today, as I mentioned before, I would like to share with you, then I can share this link on the chat, so don't problem if you don't have the mobile in the table now. Please help us to continue with this testing process. So, grazie, gratki, lufar, obrigado, danke, gracias, and thanks for your attention this morning for us, and maybe afternoon for you in this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. And it's not important that we just know, some of us, your presentation, because always it's interesting to renovate and to remember what are your research and your studies, and really really important and interesting for our work. And I'm thinking on the words of Rudy Bauer some days ago, when he said about the context, how is the context, how is important not only to make an abstract shape, and how is important not only to reduce the many details we have with the real image in something abstract, but how it's how we take care to maintain the legibility and to not produce an ambiguity in the consideration of a pictogram. And this is our challenge. I remember that there was a time in which I think I would like to abstract everything and to have a very clear line and a very abstract language. But I understand we have to remember always that we are speaking to people, and not all of them are graphic designers, and we need to maintain a good level of legibility, because in emergency design, it's so important that the message could arrive in a very clear way, and because the difference is to save a life or not to save life. And We can work in a different situation, but our research it's I think that we take care of all these aspects, also because we work in the communication world, and we need to be sure that other people could understand our message. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo.
No, thank you, Cinzia. Thank you, Elia, and all the team. Of course, Cinzia, this maybe a fifth principle that is very important is the clarity, the element that brings you the meaning at the end. That is in part cultural, but also it need to be constructed, designed as a visible element, legible element, understandable element that makes sense for everyone, specifically in a moment of emergency becomes critical. So thank you for this comment.
So there was a lot of enthusiasm for the presentation, which of course we all share. So thanks again, Rodrigo, for your always crystal clear presentations. Is there any question or comments?
It's a pity, Rodrigo, that we couldn't stay with us, you, Alejandra, and Javier in Palermo. It's a real pity.
Yeah, maybe for the next time in Santiago, we will be happy to host the the next session. And maybe we can make a stop in Buenos Aires, of course.
Okay.
All right. If there's no question, as promised, we're going to take a short break and then we will be back for our parallel design session. So shall we take 10 minutes and be back at 10 to the hour?
Okay.
I'll see you all in 10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So in this last section of today's session, we will go back into breakout rooms for the second part of the exercise that we had planned for this online phase. It will build on the work that we have done together on Monday, and it will continue evolving the reflection around our values. The groups will be intentionally shuffled up, so to give the opportunity to meet new people and think about new concepts and new values. But then after the online phase, we will create the groups for the in-person phase that will be communicated over the next couple of days to give everybody time to start, building connection, getting in contact, or start reflecting on the work to be done in Palermo. I will briefly share my screen for just to share some instructions about today's activity. The starting point is, of course, the work that we've done on Monday, and specifically, we closed the session on Monday with a collection of etymological research and mood boards. Today, we will start from the same starting point. That's to say, we will be divided in groups, and every group will be assigned to a specific value out of the 6 values that we have identified. But your task today is to try and translate that specific value into a visual form, not by defining a new original symbol, but by curating a little library of symbols and images that are most commonly used to visualize these symbols. Now, these outputs can be pictograms, protest signs, logos, imagery, anything that can convey the message that you associate to that specific value. Every group would be expected to put together a small visual collection, like a little library of visuals, that then we will be sharing with the rest of the group, together with 2 or 3 observations about recurring themes. Now, for every group, we have created a work area Feel free to move it around or customize it if you need more space. That's absolutely fine. And this is what we recommend doing. We would start with, hold on. We would start with the identification of the core essence of the values. That's to say, what are the most commonly associated meanings or images with that specific values. Then we will move on to the definition of the collection. So a visual collection of imageries connected to that symbol, to that value, and then a summary of recurrent visual themes that you might be able to identify in your collection. I will stop sharing. The suggested time frame for this activity is 30 minutes. There is also a suggested workflow right below the instructions, but feel free to do what's best for you. I'm gonna share the link to the board before I open the breakout rooms. So while I do that, if you have any question, feel free to come off mic. Welcome back, everybody. So in this last half an hour, we're gonna go around the room to give a look at the results of this exercise. I will ask every team to select one or two people to just walk us through. For simplicity, I'm gonna share my screen, and then I'm gonna go one board at a time, starting with group 1. Who wants to present their work?
Yes, we kind of like came across some similarities when we search for the images. We talk about the dignity is very much linked to the concept of respect, community, equality. So we have this concept of the people's value, the people's worth in terms of human rights. We have some images about the fist or Black Lives Matter, the symbols of human rights fight. The hands and the colors, it's something that was very repeated. And this metaphor of the hands making a star on many occasions, kind of like englobing the concept of value and like taking care of one another. There was a very interesting picture that is this one over here. I don't know if people recognize it. If you recognize it, please show hands. I don't know if anyone wants to take a guess. Well, this picture right here is a very abstract picture, but it was one of the first that came up on the search, and I will give a clue. This picture right here is very much linked to dignity because of the popularity of the Simpsons episode. So beyond the funny connotation to the image itself, to the pictogram, we talk about the interesting about how something so abstract that has nothing to do with dignity is nowadays another representation of dignity because of this episode and the popularity.
That is
I don't know
very
if my team has anything else to say, but yes, we kind of like find the same things. Hence, people's value, community, and respect, holding hands.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Anybody else from Team Dignity wants to add anything?
I think Carolina covered all that we talked. But also, we agree that we are not like expert designers or anything. We were a group of students only, I think. But while we were talking about all these concepts, and then we start searching for the icons, we were like sorprendidas, like surprised that for this great concept that we are talking about, the icons that we found, they are universal, but they are like poor for this big concept that we have. But we also know that that anyone that can see them can understand them. So we agree that they complete the how can I say, the objective of represent, but this is a so great concept that I don't know, maybe can be refreshing some new perspective, like this Simpson example for we can say. Yes.
Yes, we believe like any of these icons by itself, they don't make justice to the term completely, but maybe with when you mix it together or you put them together, kind of like englobes a little bit better the concept.
Yes.
That's quite a valuable reflection there. I think you're right. There's also a matter of relational nature of these symbols to fully represent concepts like this. But it's interesting to notice how we have recurrent themes, visual themes, that could be a starting point to go in either the same direction or a completely different direction when we will start designing our own symbols in Palermo. So thank you, Team 1. I'm going to move on to Team 2, Group 2, who worked on the topic, on the concept of freedom. Who wants to share their experience with us?
I could start, Elia.
Yep, go ahead.
The core essence of our value, we put the concepts of authenticity and expression, maybe in a creativity way, being truthful, free will, and the right to choose. It was very difficult to put in words something that is not something. In this case, not slave, not a slave. Right? It's like the antonymous word was a challenge. Then the recurrent visual themes, we have birds, birds in fly or in flying, birds flying, chains or broken chains, and that usually is with the next that is hands or fist, right?
Yep.
A fist broken the chains, and then persons in the top of a hill or the top of a mountain, expression of joy. The most an example in the collection, we have a one person, an example with the open arms, have the chain, the fist, the bird breaking the cage, the Statue of Liberty in New York City, that is So a symbol of freedom. Have wings, and I put at last minute this image that a soldier and the phrase "freedom is not free," and an arm, excuse me, a weapon. I don't know, ¿cómo se dice? A machine gun. That was our approximation. I don't know if one of the girls in the room can to add something.
I can. I'm Camila Martinez from Diseño C from Chile. And we talk a lot of the use of people, often like climbing a mountain or a hill, as a symbol of achievement. But also the fist is present in these icons too. Like it's the hands, the chain, and the person. Like it's very constant.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to team 3, who worked on the concept of equality. Anybody from team 3 who wants to walk us through the work?
Well, yes, I can go on. About recurring visual themes, we found mostly the scale, but the origin of that symbol is about the allegory that comes from the French Revolution. So it became like a very universal symbol. Also, another recurring theme is the math sign that represents equal, yes. And also found, well, I typed there equality through diversity because there's a strong connection between those terms. And so when we are talking about equality, we are meaning that we keep our diversity, our own selves, but we need the equality of treatment in society and against the government and our laws. So in image collection, you can see a mix of those themes working together. Sometimes literally working together, like the sign, the mathematical sign, working with, I don't know, when we're talking about gender equality or the presence of human hands representing diversity, but in that diversity we find that equality too. Well, also the scale with the human hand also to attach the concept to humanity. Don't know much else to say.
Thank
I
you.
also find in the last time this image about glass ceiling. It's usually is referred to the women's rights, but I suppose it's possible to think about any kind of person, sex, age, religion, culture, physical aspect. The difficult to accept as some kind of work.
That's super interesting. All right, thank you very much. Group 3, we're going to move on to solidarity. Group 4. Anybody from room 4 would like to walk us through the work?
Hi.
Maybe. Okay.
You go if you want.
Okay, so we can split, or I can start and then you can add something. Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with our core essence of our value, which is solidarity. So we wrote down, of course, empathy, all for one and one for all. I think this is one of the most important essence of solidarity. And okay, what else? Shared identity, mutual commitment, and a collective action. And also we wrote down that I recognize myself in others and choose to stand with them. I think this is a quote, but I don't know who said that. Because I didn't wrote it. Okay, so maybe let's go down to the visual themes we found are recurrent. So of course, a circle of people interlinked by hands and connected like a chain. And we have an visual example of that. And then visuals symbolizing human unity and peace. And as an example of this, we chose like two people connected by a hug, creating a heart. And this is a symbol of solidarity with Ukraine. And okay, the next theme we found was visuals of mutual help and cooperation. There was a lot of images where people were helping each other when we typed solidarity in Pinterest and Google. Okay, and the last one is visuals of hands connected in gestures of unity, and there is an example. So maybe someone else can say something about our signs and symbols.
Yes, hi.
Okay.
First, sorry for my English.
No.
But what I think that is interesting about the symbols is that they are universal. I think we found so much common on these symbols and the designs with form and counterform are interesting, but like how they connect these persons with hearts and circles and unions. But I think that says so much about what is that value, solidarity. Yeah, that's what I have. What I have found interesting.
Thank you so much, Romina and Tula. Anyone else from your team wants to add anything?
Maybe I'll add one thing again. So I think also very important thing about solidarity is that we come stronger as a group. I think all of those images are showing this. So maybe that's like a one sentence to sum up that we came stronger as a group.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We will move on now to citizenship and group 5. Anybody from room 5 wants to walk us through?
So I can maybe say something. The core essence of our value, we find that this is responsibility, but also rights for common living, participation and sense of belonging to a community, concepts like passion, and also the cultural differences like languages, slang, dialects, and other things like that. Recurrent visual themes, we decided that we also have a lot of cultural things like local food, drinks, cooking ingredients, tools for cooking, also clothes or uniforms for identification, and also landscapes, which are also different in countries, images that symbolize the culture. So on one hand, this is very colorful world with different colors of passport and flags, but there is also like themes of bureaucracy and visual documents and stamps, forms, bills. So we have a couple of different interpretations of this word. And yeah, I think that's it. Maybe someone else wants to add something.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, in this whole vision that we had for the concept of citizenship, we delve into the concept of like taking a part of the culture, an element to symbolize like the entirety of that one particular thing. Like, for example, we did for the fashion design of one particular region, maybe depending if you live in a country that is more about located in the mountains or more toward the seaside. So that particular element could maybe be a distinguished element of your culture. That could be like, for example, for uniforms or for stamps or different kind of arts or tools. Yeah, so these were all like the thinking that we had behind this whole process. That's it.
Thank you very much. Then let's close it off with the last group working on the theme of justice. Group 6. Anyone wants to walk us through?
Yes, hi. So first, my name is Marta, and firstly, we were thinking about justice in a general sense, like the words that is like ethical. It's like social and legal concept. It's like rights and duties, the rules. Also, what like balance, that the justice is for everyone, equity, fairness, and reasonable. But also the thing that we thought is making the big difference between, for example, like solidarity or like equality is the set of the rules. So then we started thinking about the symbols that we can use. And firstly, because of the methodology and history, we thought about the Lady Justice, the blindfold, the toga, sword, the balance, and also the scale, court, and constitution as a law also, and a set of rules. Then we started thinking about the symbols. So firstly, we have the symbols. It's like the first one is like a logo, a stamp. And we can see that there's this Lady Justice. There is also another Lady Justice. We have the scale, the sword with the scale, and also some kind of like balance that even though we are different, all of us has this, like, we should all be treated with like justice when it happens to different things. And other symbols, this is also like balance and symbol of also of like justice in like Celtic culture, and like solidarity, that we are the people together and we should all be treated the same way, and something that is significant, like a symbol of the court and judge. And also like this one, which is related to the constitution of different countries in Europe.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from your team wants to add anything? All right. So we are perfectly on time. I will pass the mic to Cinzia for the closing remark, and then we will send you all off.
Okay, thank you very much, Elia, and thank you very much to all of you. And I would like to only some thoughts, pensieri finali, final thoughts. One is about how many hands in the different symbols, and it's incredible that six invisible and intangible values can represented by hands that are connected to the tactile sense, and we can discover it together. And I think that it was a really simple exercise, but it's we can use it to reflect about how people, how common people can read in these so common symbols. And I think that it will be really interesting to connect the meaning of the words with the first exercise, and the second part, the research of symbols that are not our future project, but it's something to reflect about inside the meaning of the words, to stress to some other words, like keywords inside every values. And we can imagine and we can realize like a map with word and symbols, and on the flow of on the flow, I don't know if it's correct. After the presentation of Alejandra, we can all can in the next week think about a metaphor for one or more one or of the six European values. And they can put the meaning, the research with in the dictionary, and a collection of images or symbols, and also metaphors in your luggage before to come to preparing for the next time in Palermo. And we are thinking to send you the composition of group, and we would like to share our idea with other teachers and researchers of the BIP. So to imagine the best composition we can think, because we have some people in presence and some people online, and I think it's everything. I think.
Thank you, Cinzia. And again, thanks everybody for joining. It was an amazing kickoff of the program. We were expecting a nice online phase, but we ended up with something a lot richer. So thanks everybody for contributing, participating, being very active. As Cinzia mentioned, we will follow up with more information and resources in preparation for the in-person phase that, as a reminder, will start on the 8th of June in Palermo. Again, if in the meanwhile you need any support or any sort of help also to organize your stay in Palermo, please reach out. You have our contacts, and we will follow up very soon with the recordings of these online sessions, as well as a first proposal for the groups. Thanks again, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening.